Millin here from teslataxi.com.au. Today I wanted to make a quick video for our potential new Uber drivers in 2023 that are looking to rent a Tesla to drive for Uber full time. We do have several options as far as different cars available in Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, and soon Adelaide. We do also have cars up in North Queensland currently. If you are looking to rent a Tesla, you will get autopilot, which is what I'm about to engage here. Whenever you have this blue steering wheel on, the car is doing all of the driving, but you do still need to monitor the car, so you have to be able to take over at any time if something goes wrong. So as you can see at the moment, you are driving without any hands, without any feet, and every time it flashes here, you do have to touch the steering wheel just lightly, and that will disengage that warning or remove the, they call it a nag, excuse me, remove the nag from the screen. You'll see up this set of traffic lights that we're about to get to, if the cars are still stopped, we will automatically stop behind them. So I'm not touching any pedals or steering wheel for any of this, the car's doing all of this work. But this version of autopilot currently in Australia doesn't directly respond to the traffic lights. So they'll show up on the screen, as you can see here, showing up as green, but if it was red, the car wouldn't actually stop. You would have to take over unless there was a car in front of you like we just had. So that's the autopilot, which is the basic self-driving function that all Teslas in Australia have currently. The newer cars, anything from 2019 up to current, have what they call AP3 hardware, the latest computer that's self-driving, and cameras all the way around the car. So if you are comparing renting a car to, for example, buying an older Tesla, like the earlier Model S's from 2015 have a much more basic version of the autopilot, and they don't have cameras all the way around to do all the lane changing and all the other things that you get with the newer cars. When it comes to lane changing, at the moment this car has what they call enhanced autopilot, which was a promotion from Tesla where all cars got that for a limited time. However, as a general rule, the price will include only the basic autopilot. So if you rent the car for $500, $600, $700 a week, depending on the car, then that will include this basic version of autopilot, which we're currently using, but won't have the enhanced autopilot. And the enhanced autopilot is what you need currently to do any of the automatic lane changing. So at the moment, if I want to change lanes, I do need to take the car out of autopilot and then put it back into autopilot once I've executed the lane change. The traffic light control is only part of what they call FSD, full self-driving, and that is again not included with any of the standard rental packages we're currently offering in Australia. However, there will be soon, I believe in around about 3 to 6 months, roughly middle of 2023 in Australia, the option to buy FSD month to month, which is something that we will allow people renting our cars to do, obviously providing they pay the cost of that subscription, which is yet to be announced in Australia. Additionally, if you are wanting to look at renting this long term, we do have an option to rent to buy, or pay out, I guess you would say, the car. So you can pay an extra amount per week on your rental, and then that money effectively pools, and when it gets to a certain level, after 2, 3 or 4 years, depending on the agreement that we have with you, then we can put that towards the purchase of the car if we agree on a value at the beginning of the rental. Not all of our cars are available for rent to buy, but if it is something you're after we've had 6 months of rental history with you, we will make that offer for 2, 3 or 4 years additional, if that's something you're looking at doing. The last thing I wanted to cover in this video is how you can reduce your rental cost with a thing called GPU, Get Picked Up. We have an arrangement with Get Picked Up where our drivers can effectively join for free and not pay the monthly subscription fee, plus get a preferential treatment when it comes to some of the more premium drives that you can get with a Tesla. And those premium drives can work out to reducing your rental by about 30% for only about 1 hour per week of work. So for example, there's a person in Queensland that we've got on that system. He's got an agreement where his rental for one of the more premium Tesla cars drops from $700 a week to $500 a week if he takes one 80 kilometre per week job from Get Picked Up. And that can be a very simple job, which is mainly, going from the Brisbane to Gold Coast or vice versa, maybe Sunshine Coast, and that can obviously be 90% of the time would be using autopilot, as I've been using for this entire video. So there's a very low sort of demand or stress on the driver for those longer trips in a Tesla where you've got the autopilot engaged. That 80 kilometre trip that I mentioned, excuse me, that 80 kilometre trip that I mentioned includes the charging for most agreements, in as much as again, this particular example, he has 150 kilometers of free charging per week that he gets with us, and he has to take one 80 kilometer job, approximately 1 hour job per week, to qualify for his discount from $700 down to $500 for his rental. And we do have similar agreements running, as mentioned before, in Sydney and Melbourne, and we are also looking at opening that service up for the North Queensland drivers that we've got within the next month or two. So those are some of the key points for teslataxi.com.au renting an Uber. If you'd like to know more, simply go to the website and click on the Uber link and fill out the form. We'll get back to you usually within 24 hours with a quote, and we're more than happy to offer you a low upfront cost. Like, the bond can actually be partly deferred. You can pay part of your bond up front, and then the other, I didn't touch the pedals there, by the way, I just let the car do that, and yeah, the other part of the bond can be paid within the first 60 days of your rental. Minimum rental terms for Uber is 3 months, however we do give better rates for 6 months and longer. teslataxi.com.au if you'd like to know more. Millin on LinkedIn, I'll put a link in the show notes for my LinkedIn contact if you'd like to contact me that way. At this stage we do have a few cars left available, and then our next shipment of cars should arrive in Australia approximately April of this year. So if you do miss out on the current lot of cars, we will have some more cars arriving not too far down the track. And if you've got any questions, feel free to drop us an email, and we are more than happy to expand on all the information in this video. Just finally, I will show you the get picked up on the iPad once we get through this little bit of roadworks, which again I'm not taking over, but I am keeping an eye on what's going on here, because obviously if there's roadworks or anything unusual on the road, you want to be super vigilant and make sure that you can take over with no notice if the car has any issues. But so far so good. So I'll just show you that get picked up booking system. Don't know how well that's going to come out on the video with this bright Queensland sunny day, but we'll see if we can get you some information there. So that's an example trip there to or from the Sunshine Coast in Brisbane, 122 k's for this example. And if that was booked on the business class, the customer would be paying close to $400. And obviously we would get roughly half of that with you as the driver, which means that's an example of one of those jobs where it would bring the rental down from $700 to $500 for the week. In general, the agreements aren't for that long of a drive. That, as I said, was 122 k's. Most people have an agreement where it's around 80 or 90 k's, depending on the city, is their minimum job requirement to get the agreed discount. And again, after 6 months, we can actually increase that discount anywhere up to 100% of the rent if you are approving to enjoy the get picked up drives. So hopefully that gives you a good overview of all of the options and information there, and teslataxi.com.au if you'd like more details. Thank you.